a space that's navigated with people of color. And so one of the things that I did was, as an incarcerated youth, and being incarcerated, in and out of prison. This last time I got out in 2018 after serving 42 months and 20 days, but I was looking at 50 years. I was charged with 6 gun charges. Each gun charge carries what they call a enhancement. So it's 1, 3, and 5 years. If you use the gun in the crime, it's 5 years. If you have it on you, which is called possession, then it's 3 years. And if it's on the ground or in your zone or in your area, it's called constructive possession, it's 1 year. So I got charged with 6 guns, so I was looking at 18 years. And when you get charged with a gun charge, there's no alternative sentence. So that means the sentences run consecutive, meaning I have to do the 18 first and then do the next charges. So I was also charged with 6 charges of school zone, dealing drugs in the school zone, not at the school, just to clarify that, but they count a bus stop as a school zone. So if you're 1,000 feet within a bus stop, that's considered a school zone. I was caught inside 1,000 feet of that. So I was looking at 6 school zone charges, they carried 2 years, so that was 12 years. I got caught with manufacturing dope, possession of dope with intent to sell, possession of dope, and possession of a firearm. That was the other 20 years. Luckily, I caught a break on the guns, and because I caught a break on the guns, I was able to get a alternative sentencing. It's called DOSA. So I ended up doing 42 months and 20 days. That's me right there in the circle. That picture you see right there, that's the Asian Pacific Islander car. That's just Asian Pacific Islanders right there. It's our car. What I mean by car is it's like your gang. But the difference is we got Bloods, Crips, and folks all in this car, because when you enter the API car, they make you put your flag down. And what I loved about that is it allowed us to reconnect to our culture. And we're gonna get to that in a second. Over here, it's my mom and dad. My dad, rest in peace. He served in the military. He was also a deacon in the church. So education and the church was always big for him. And this is my mom. She was a retired LPN. She did 20 plus years, and my dad almost did 30 in the military, right here. My dad, his name is Sioeli Laupati. Tamam means father. This is my dad right here. This is my beautiful mom here, Tina. That's how we say mother or mom in Samoan. They were married high school sweethearts all the way to 2019 when my father unfortunately passed. And when my father passed, that was tough on me because I was in the middle of TCC. And that was heading into my graduation year. He passed away November 3rd, 2019 at 9 o'clock. So I remember it like yesterday. And the thing about it is when he passed, I kind of was numb because I didn't really realize it until I woke up the next day and I didn't see him at the table. Then it hit me. So that was real tough because it was November, it was heading into my second year, and that was my graduating year, and I was hoping that my father could see me walk because I didn't graduate from high school. So I mean, I had to go, I got my GED when I was in prison. And so it was a real tough, it was real touch and go, if I was gonna continue school, but I was blessed and fortunate that my mom was, as strong as they come, and she told me, instead of sitting around the house, why don't you just go to school? You don't have to go to class, but just be around people. And so it was the best advice I ever got from my mom because when I got around people, I just kind of was at ease. And I felt like, man, I didn't think about my dad, not to say I wasn't, but I felt at ease. And so it allowed me to continue and finish school. The best decision I ever made because who knows what would have happened if I didn't finish and get my AA. After I graduated, I took a year off to transition down, helped my mom move into an apartment where she stays with my brother. And then I wanted to continue on my education journey, which led me to Evergreen. But in continuing my education journey, it all started at the SOCC because in prison, I met a couple people in prison that I saw at the SOCC, and I was like, wow, you're here presenting. One of them is Mario Millie. He's here today. He's also presenting the workshop. And he does a lot of a keynote speaking, where he goes to different conferences and he shares his stories, much like I'm sharing with you guys. And it was there that I met a guy named Chris Hansen. He was a reentry navigator. He would go visit the prisons, and he would try to preach school and education as an alternative to, drug abuse, drug addiction, gangs, prostitution, no matter what it is, just an alternative to whatever it was you were doing on the streets. I thought, man, that was pretty cool. Like I would want to do something like that, because I never had that. I didn't have somebody say, hey man, try education. It really pushed it on me. And so from there, I began to develop a relationship where I said, man, that's what I want to do. I want to give back to the community by preaching education as an alternative. And not just education, but tech school, because some people, college isn't for everybody. You might want to do a trade. So I push trade school. Why? Because that's education too. Not only do I push trade school, but I also press entrepreneurship. Why? Because not everybody wants to do trade school. But I want you to do something. You know what I mean? Because something is better than the alternative of what put me there. And speaking of reentry navigators, sorry I'm sweating a little hot here, but my guy right here, Joe Bradford, he's another one. He's a reentry navigator. He was doing this work, and another guy, a good brother, inspired me to do it. I paneled at the corrections conference. He was there. He was the narrator. The thing about the correction conference, they always ask you, what it is that you need. And so what we got here is real options. So real options, because people that are system impacted, they have a hard time, being a felon. They have a hard time getting work. They have a hard time getting school, getting a car, getting anything. So what real options does, it reconnects you with equity, accountability, and love, with opportunities provided to inspire one's newfound success. So first thing we have to do is reconnect, because I was disconnected. Well, why was I disconnected? Well, there's a lot of things, and it led to the fallout of my father, even though I didn't know it at that time. But the reconnecting part that disconnected me was the simple fact that, I would grow up when I was little, and my parents would always call me by my Samoan name. Hey, Sioeli, get this. Hey, Sioeli, get that, But as I grew up, they started calling me by my middle name. They started calling me Joe. I didn't really understand why they were doing that. But as a little kid, you're playing with your cousins, and if they're not tripping, you're not tripping. Because your cousins are your first friends, But that started to lead to a disconnect because they stopped even speaking my language to me. See what I mean? So as I'm growing up, I'm no longer hearing Samoan in the house. I'm hearing English in the house.
I mean, you can relate to that. Your language, you heard it less as you grew up.
Yeah. So what happens there is your cousins that are your first friends, they start looking at you a little different because you're not speaking the language. So now they start looking at you like, oh, you're not Samoan enough. You see what I mean? For some, I met a lot of people like this when I was incarcerated. Oh, you're not Mexican enough. Or you're not Cambodian enough. You're not Vietnamese enough. You're not Romanian enough. You don't speak the language. But the trip was, the people that spoke the language but didn't speak English, they were penalized too. Because they said, oh, you're never gonna learn English.
Come on.
So you too much of a fob. Fob is fresh off the boat. You too much of that. So that's why I disconnected from the things that with my foundation, and started to connect to other things. The first thing you usually connect to is bullshit. Excuse my language, but BS. Cars, material things. That's what you can trying to fill a void. So I'm buying clothes, I'm buying shoes, not even wearing half the clothes I'm buying. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But it was filling a void. But then that void was no longer, that wasn't enough to fill that void. So then I began to start connecting to strangers. When I began to connect to strangers, that's what led me to gangs. And what led me to gangs is simply that, because they were looking for someone to fill that void too. So we had that, oh, okay, we got something in common. So now I'm running the streets. And that's what led me to disconnect from my father, because I thought